New rules here. Okay, guys, we hold on one second here. We'll give you that. Restart, right? Okay, man, it doesn't get any better than this. You know, I think it's great to be back in the building. It's great to be around the staff. Certainly, we had an opportunity to be with the players last week, but just something a little bit different about training camp. And this team in particular, there's a few things that are really important when you start training camp. And I think it's critical that we establish expectations for the players and really for all parts of the building. You know, and I think I'm getting ready to go on this team meeting at 10:30 today. And I'm going to talk about making an impact and being the difference. And we want every single person that's a part of the team and the organization to feel as if their role might just be the difference. And for them to come to work every day and to take pride in their role and how they can make an impact. So this camp will be the most competitive camp that we've had since I've been at the University of Florida. We have more competitive depth, we have more experience, and certainly we have a challenge in front of us that we look forward to. So we're excited about the opportunity. I know you guys got a lot of questions, so let's get to it.
Billy, Mark Long with AP, but camp, you've done the hotel before, now you're doing Tolbert Hall. I'm just curious, is that more efficient, or is that just a different experience for these guys in year three?
Yeah, no, I think it's good for our guys to experience something different. You know, I think it provides an opportunity to be around your teammates each day during training camp. I think there's an opportunity there to build some character to some degree and maybe create some gratitude. You know, I think ultimately that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create an old school feel to training camp where they appreciate when they move back into that nice apartment here in a couple weeks. So we also pair them up with, you know, unique roommates. We try to create crossover in relationships, and you know, we got them all in one spot so we can check curfew every night too. But we typically don't have that issue. You know, this group embraces that. It's one of the things I appreciate about it. Just talking to the leadership group a couple of days ago, you know, they were quick to ask if we were going back to the dorm, and looking forward to it. You know, I think that's the healthy thing about this team. I think they are excited about the opportunity and the challenge that's in front of us.
How do you evaluate the structure of training camp year to year, and do you tweak things each year? How do you view it in terms of?
Yeah, no, I think we've got a model that we've used throughout the years. I do think that we have adjusted. I think we have access to more information now. The sports science piece, you know, the wearable technology, just the information that we have on each individual player, and then our partnership with the NFL has been critical. You know, I think we actually had Dr. Seals here on campus going back in the spring, and we specifically talked about the format of training camp and how to do that in a competitive fashion, but also in a safe way as well. So we'll expose the players at different times of the day in this training camp. We'll practice at 10:30, 2:30, and 6:30. We obviously play some flex games where we'll be on the field at all three of those times. Obviously some morning kickoffs as well, three in particular on this schedule. So I think it'd be healthy for our players to experience all of that. Obviously we practice in the afternoon once we get to the season.
Billy, this is your third August. Would you talk about how the football culture has evolved during this time? How much of that is just experience, and how much of it is just the total change in culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think that in particular this spring, I thought we took a step forward in both areas. I do think we're in year 3 of our system and doing those things here at the University of Florida in this league against this competition. So I think, you know, we continue to adapt and evolve, but I do think from a football perspective, we just have more experience. I mean, we have 17 starters coming back. We're 4th in the league in returning production. We've got 41,000 snaps of experience coming back. And I think the character makeup of our team is different. You know, I think we have credible leadership. So culturally, you know, I heard a guy just this past week, I was listening to a guy talk about culture, and it's really how do the players behave and go about their business when maybe the authority figure is away. You know, and I think we found out a lot about our team this summer. By far the best summer we've had. You know, I think you guys spoke with Tyler earlier today. Yeah, we're in a different place, and I think partly because of that culture element, I think there's just a different level of leadership and accountability right now.
Edgar Thompson, the Orlando Sentinel. What's the next step in Graham Mertz's evolution?
I think, well, number one, Graham Mertz has had a phenomenal offseason. You know, mentally, physically, emotionally, the leadership element. I think he started in a different place in January. There's a different level of confidence. And then his place on the team. You know, it's his team. And he proved it on the field last year with how not only he produced, but also the way he competed, the toughness, the grit. So I think that that's going to produce the next step. You know, I don't necessarily think the next step is how he plays in the fall. I think he's been working on that next step, and that'll prove to be what will get him here is the work that he's done up until this point, right? So I think we're going to play better around him. I have confidence in that. I think we have a better group up front. I think we have an experienced tight end group that we didn't have last year. And I think the receiving core, there's a ton of competition in that room, and I think we'll end up in a good place. So play better around him, and then the work he's done going all the way back to January will provide that next step.
To that point, Coach Callaway talked about getting the best guys touches. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Mark followed up with your comment on how you're going to get your money's worth out of Trey Wilson. But you have other guys. Do you feel like there are more pieces?
Yeah, and I think it's to be determined to some degree, but I'm excited about what I see. You know, we get a chance to be on the grass with the players. We've executed 14 OTAs this summer, so we're around them consistently. So I do think we have other weapons, and I think some of those roles are going to be earned in this training camp, right? So, but we're always going to be intentional about who we get the ball to. Trey Wilson be at the top of that list for sure.
Gators Online. When we talked to Tyler, he said that one of the things he wanted to see from the players was them be more accountable. You guys instituting penalties for them showing up late, having to meet a weight goal every week. Can you take us through the decision to feel like you could do that with this team and how that has helped them this offseason?
Well, the good thing is I think the players wanted it. You know, I think the players were vocal about it. I think that, you know, again, I go back. It's the best thing about this team is the voice that we have at the player level. And I think that their willingness to give feedback, to talk about issues and present solutions. And look, Tyler and his staff did a phenomenal job. Jake Sankel, that whole strength and conditioning, sports science, the nutrition area, the training room, that whole performance team was next level. You know, both training blocks that we had, right? And I think when you're administering work, you know, that environment is critical to creating discipline and accountability, attention to detail, urgency, a certain level of focus. And I think they did that, you know, and I think ultimately the best thing about it is the players embrace that and that they really push that agenda. You know, I think it's one thing to have a culture where maybe the coaches are pushing that agenda, but it's another thing when you have leadership amongst the players. So we have that currently.
Over into the offseason, we heard Russ say that he'd come out there on Saturdays and you guys would be having recruiting stuff and they're out there working out both sides. Was that unique to this summer, or do you think that stemmed from that?
I think we, you know, I told the story at Media Day. You know, it's Saturday. I don't know if it was January or February, but I bring the boys over here. We're over here. I'm trying to do some work. They're running around, and we got You know, I look around, I think there's 70 guys in the building. Recovery, skill development, you know, some hypertrophy work. I mean, and ultimately time together. You know, I think there's a brotherhood element to that, and that's the player going to his position group and his unit, his class, and saying, "Hey, let's get in here on Saturday." You know, there's an opportunity to get better. So, you know, we've been really close. You know, I mean, I think we have experience. We've got a core group of players that are coming back. They've tasted it. They've been right there in those fourth quarter games, back-to-back years. Down the stretch, we haven't quite finished the way we would like to. And I think ultimately that's the motivation behind this, is they know it's just right there, you know, and what helps us get over the hump. And they've been seeking out those things. And I think they've done that in all parts of life, you know, I think. So we built good character. You know, I think we built good intangibles. I think we have good examples walking the halls here. So now it's time to go play football.
A minute ago. I'm curious, what kind of impact do you expect him to have on this team, both because of him personally and also the rule change regarding analysts and allowing him to do more?
Yeah, I think we guessed right, and I think ultimately we felt as if we needed, one of the ways that we felt we needed to adapt is we needed another layer of expertise in the special teams area. So Joe and I had a relationship from a while back, and obviously he was in a little bit of a unique spot with Coach Belichick's situation. So we were fortunate to hire Joe. He's done a great job. So, you know, we're third in the league. We're looking at all these rankings statistically and kind of setting up objectives for training camp in the season. And, you know, composite ranking last year in our conference, we were third. I think Georgia was first, Alabama was second, we were third. But we've had organizational issues that obviously is well documented. So we needed to get better in those areas. And I think Joe has provided a good sounding board. His working relationship with Coach Couch, and now the fact that those guys, the gloves come off and they're on the grass and can give instruction on the field, I think is going to be a huge advantage for us.
Is it a sign that your culture has really taken hold, that you got guys wanting the discipline? They're not only coming in and we're doing the extra work, but they're coming to you wanting that extra discipline, wanting the accountability?
I do. I mean, I think experience that's a result of experience is what I would say. I mean, I think we went through a little bit of a youth movement in year two in certain parts of our team, and we're reaping the rewards of that to some degree now. And that's not just when we play in the fall. I think it's been, you know, you have a motivated group coming back. You know, they came back with purpose. I think we've added some really good pieces, not only talent, but I think leadership and character. But, yeah, I think that the best compliment I can give this team is that all parts of our organization that work with them independent of football just say it's a different group. The academic staff, the equipment staff, the training room, the Gator Made crew, Florida Victorious, the cleaning staff, the people that take care of the building. I'm walking out of the building just the other night, and, you know, a guy walks up to me and says, "Hey, Coach, you know, I don't know what's going on around here, but this group, I've never seen that locker room look like it looks right now, you know, and I've never seen guys engage our staff, the food service staff. I mean, so it's healthy. Now it's time to go execute, right? We've got to get football specific. So I'm a firm believer that better people are better football players. And I think we'll prove that this fall.
What are your thoughts about having another fan day at the Swamp, and what do you want to kind of show kind of the Gator Nation early on in terms of, and maybe create a little enthusiasm, you know, for going into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's one of the things that we benefit from here is we got the best fans in the country. I mean, they have passion. It's the it's the great thing about this challenge, taking on we're 15 years removed from a championship, and we've got a group of fans that are hungry to get back, right? So, I think our team understands that, and I think we accept that responsibility, and I think ultimately it's part of the challenge.
Coach Miles detailed some of the gains in the strength and conditioning program, some of the speed factors. Where do you hope that shows up come game day? That stuff, is it going to be play at a faster pace? Is it going to be better in the fourth quarter, finishing games as you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I just think it leads to a level of belief. That's what I think. I think ultimately, you create adversity throughout the offseason. It should be challenging. It should be very difficult. You're trying to create leadership opportunities, mental toughness, attention to detail, discipline, focus, urgency, and those things apply to football. And then go back to what I said earlier, we're really close, and I think we've got a core group of veterans that know that. So, finish is a word that's been used quite a bit this summer, and I think that element, is one of the areas where we can pursue that difference, right? I think how we train might just be the difference. And I think that group has been trying to create an environment and a culture where, their role will make an impact, and it might just be the difference in the end. So we got to get in these competitions in this league and get to the fourth quarter and create that opportunity. So, I go back, if we do things with integrity, if we have togetherness, discipline, effort, and toughness, if we can do those things consistently, and hopefully we built those values in how we train this offseason, then when we get in position, we have a certain level of belief and confidence, and we can finish.
I know you implemented in-helmet communication back in the spring, just with the expectation that it was going to be approved, but how much more work do you think needs to go into that over the next month to, hammer down the details so there's no issues?
Yeah, it's a big item on the checklist here, is just to bulletproof all those processes. We started early in the off season, but we actually got the real gear just this week that we will wear with the coaches and the players. We've been simulating that prior. So we've got quite a bit of time in the bank here in terms of what we've been working on, but now we get to do it consistently day in, day out. We'll try to recreate the game in a walkthrough setting and in a scrimmage setting, practice setting, but that's a part of this training camp for sure.
There's always been a lot of talk about you being on the hot seat, that kind of thing. Block that stuff out and go about your business, or how do you just handle the whole thing about this being a make or break year?
Yeah, I think every year you got a set of problems, whether you lack momentum or you have momentum. Whether you've had a great offseason and you've coming off of a fantastic year, or maybe you struggled and didn't quite perform the way you'd like. You got to view each team as its own entity and kind of try to be objective about how you make decisions. Look, with leadership comes tough decisions, right? And I think every good movie, every good story, has challenges, right? So we're right in the middle of this one. And I'm hopeful that the things we've done to make change will help us perform better. But I'm going to tell you, I'm a firm believer that sometimes you need to go through struggle, and we've done that. And I'm hopeful that it will be rewarding when we do accomplish some things of significance. So, one thing about this game, I'll tell you, just big picture here from a perspective standpoint, this game, like most careers, are conditional, and I'm a person of faith, and there's an unconditional element out there to life too. So I think it gives you some perspective at the same time.
Billy, losing your chief of staff to a rival days before camp, not a big deal, a big deal, far from ideal. What do you?
Yeah. Look, Mark did a good job for us. He's a good person. It's an opportunity, a promotion in his field, more responsibility. And look, You know, I've got a lot of respect for Mark. We've known each other for a long time, but he's closer to family, is what it is. We've had no issue attracting quality people here. We'll go find someone to do his job here.
Billy, big picture with all the stuff that's been going on with the roster limits and all this settlement, is 105 scholarships necessary? I know you want 105 players plus, maybe, but is 20 more scholarships necessary?
Well, I think it's one of the things that we've had. It's probably been, amongst coaches, it's probably been the biggest topic of debate. You know, I think we ultimately were entering uncharted waters to some degree. But there was a day where we would go to training camp and we'd have 105 players. They increased that number to 110. We're going to practice tomorrow with 120. You know, I do think that we've done the homework and the research, not only myself and our organization, but I think we've been able to work with other coaches and staffs throughout the country. And I think there's an element of our game from a development standpoint. We don't have the ability to acquire a player, you know, so injuries, red shirts, there's all types of scenarios here, depth at certain positions where, you know, maybe 105 is the number, you know, so I do think that it's a new game as a result of that. You know, that's another adjustment that will be made relative to how you allocate revenue sharing, but also how you practice. So, yeah, I mean, I think, look, that's probably a 2-hour discussion. I mean, I think we've went back and forth with conference leadership, with administrators. You know, so for me, I'm going to play by the rules that they present. And when we get to 105, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we got 132, and 120 of them are going to be out there tomorrow.
Does it make you want to maybe recruit more guys that would be like, for lack of a better term, a 3-star guy that needs developing, or say, I'm going to save this, it gives me more room to go after people in the portal? Does it affect you in either way like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it affects every part of player allocation. I mean, I think we have a number at each position within this 85 scholarship players. You know, just think of it as take 3 more specialists. Now you're down to 17. There's probably about, you know, 10 positions on your team. So you're 1 or 2 more at each position group, if that makes sense. So I think the big thing will be how you develop players, how you practice. What do you do when you get into – you're going to need some contingency plans, you know, in terms of how you practice. And you may get into tough spots late in the year at certain positions, you know, in terms of how you in-season practice when you're in the playoff and you have some portal movement, you know, and all of a sudden you only got a certain number of players at a position, right? So, I mean, we've went back and forth about this. I think you can get in the weeds. You know, I think right now I'm trying to get ready for this challenge in front of us and focus on training camp.
Is there any one area offensively that, you know, going into year 3, having reviewed everything you've done in the last 2 years, that you want to see a step forward? Is there one thing that you're targeting that needs to kind of make that leap this season?
Yeah, we got to go execute our formula. You know, we haven't quite done that in all parts of our team. You know, we've got to attack the ball and own the ball. You know, we got to create more takeaways on defense. You know, I think the turnover margin is critical. We need to play the situations better, right? There's situational football that we can improve at. And we'd like to work hard to become situation experts. We need to go master our craft and continue to improve fundamentals and techniques. I do think having veteran players who've been in the system will help in that area. We've got to develop the other parts of our team so that we have competitive depth, so that the scout teams are more qualified. I think we need to be aggressive and try to overwhelm people in how we play with the number of variables that we present and the aggressive approach and how we call the game and how we play the game. And then we need to finish. you know, that's the last part of the formula is how we finish. So that's what we're going to focus on over the next month. All right, guys, thank you all.